a failing high school. And so when we do the Q&A and stuff, maybe Larry, if you could add a little about what's going on at Hiram Johnson this year. Okay. And then with that, we'll go with Susie Shields, who's going to talk about the charter solution, the full solution of charters.
Hi, everybody. My name is Susie Shields, and I'm a parent of 3 children at Sac City Schools. They're actually all at the same school. I had twins and another one right after. So they're all at David Lubin Elementary School. And I kind of got involved in this reform movement, I think probably in 2002. I went to one of the meetings when they were going to close Sac High. I had gone to Sac High, class of 1983. I was a cheerleader for Kevin Johnson. I considered him a friend. And a lot of my Sac High classmates...
Is that past tense?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
A lot of my Sac High classmates were calling me saying, hey, there's this huge meeting, they're talking about closing the school. And I was like, what? So I thought, even though I had 3 toddlers, I thought, this is my future school. I bought my home knowing that my children would go to Sac High, expecting it. That's where they were going to go. And I went to this meeting, and I was like, God, there's hundreds of people here. And I felt really good. I was like, these people are standing up saying, hey, you're saying our school is failing, but we didn't even know. We didn't have a school site council. We didn't know that our test scores were so low. We didn't know that the school was at risk for closure because of a grant that they had applied for. And they were fighting, saying, we want the school to stay open. And it was pretty much kind of a done deal. I think the district wanted to get rid of this monkey on their back that appeared to be failing. They didn't want it to reflect poorly on them to have this school that's, failing. And so here's Kevin Johnson with a fistful of dollars from Carnegie and Gates, and I don't think Broad at the time, but had all kinds of money and said, hey, I want that school. It was his alma mater. The district was like, hey, we can get this monkey off our back. Let's give the school to Kevin Johnson. And even despite the community protest, it was pretty much a done deal, and it happened. I was stunned, to say the least. Sac High, when I went there, of course, it was many years ago. I think it's like 26 years ago I graduated from there. It was a great learning experience for me. I went to Thomas Jefferson and College Greens, which closed recently, which was heartbreaking. And I went to Kit Carson, and then I moved over to Sac High. And Sac High for me was scary at first. It was. I went to Kit Carson, so that kind of, got me in, around kids that were different than me. And it was really fascinating and very important for me. And for the other kids there, too. I went to Sac High. I met people from all over the city, really, because it was such a mix of people. There were Fab 40s kids, College Greens kids like me, way out, way out there. Kids from downtown, Midtown, Oak Park, we all came together, and we all just it was tense at first, because we were all kind of in our place. We all came together, and we learned how to relax, if not relate. And I think that is so important in a diverse society that we have right now. And anyway, when they wanted to close Sac High, I thought, God, this school is the most diverse school in the entire district. Everybody was in the 20th percentile. Major races, 20th percentile. When they decided to close the school, they didn't take into consideration that it had a huge, 30% English language learner population. 25 to 30% varied. They had the deaf and hard of hearing program for the county, I believe. I think it was the whole county would come there. They had a significant population of special ed students. They had kids from low socioeconomic backgrounds, as well as kids that were middle class. But a very diverse population, and it was such an integral part of the inner city, the urban core. It served thousands of kids throughout the year for 150 years, bringing all these different communities together. So it was very important to really think about this. Why are we Why are we just going to throw it away? I never understood that. But anyway, the problem I always had was St. Hope came in, replaced a public school that provided all these services, that brought everybody together. And they made a lot of promises. Oh, we're going to reflect the demographics of the district. We'll have 30% English language learners. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to have these small schools. Just, I think, so that the public would swallow that bitter pill. Because, you know, it was hard to take. But, it won't be that different. And I was like, okay. I went and I bought a sweatshirt and I got some hats. My husband and I went to the games. Okay, we'll give it a try. It really didn't sit right with me because they kept calling themselves Sac High. They said, oh, we've been around for 156 years. That really bugged me, but I was like, oh. Anyway, when a charter school replaces a public school like that, I mean, it completely wipes it off the map. There were 1,800 kids with nowhere to go, or almost 1,800 kids. They basically said, okay, we're closing, and then everybody was like, well, where are we supposed to go? Well, they pretty much wound up going to Sac Charter. It was kind of like a gift for Kevin. Well, we're closing school. These kids are kind of floundering. Here you go. Here's all these students. Here's the facility. And that just wasn't something I was pleased with. But anyway, they promised to reinvent Sac High. Okay. But really what they did was a bait and switch. They made all these promises. Oh, it'll be the same. We're going to help everyone. We're just really going to reinvent it. They did reinvent it, but they reinvented it by changing not so much the school itself, but the population. They virtually eliminated the difficult to educate populations. Think about it. You know, all those programs I talked about, deaf and hard of hearing, special ed, English language learners, they all count in your API score. So if you have huge populations of these kids, their scores count just like any other, just an average student does. They all come together. So if you've got all these really difficult to educate students, large populations where their scores count, it's going to, you're going to be punished for it, according to No Child Left Behind. You don't want that, right? Especially if you're a charter school, where your life depends on your test scores. So what happens? All of a sudden, your English language learners, which are, a big part of the population, plummet. This is the public Sac High. This is St. Hope. In Oak Park, which is a very diverse language. It's not just English, or it's just not Spanish kids. There's Hmong, there's, the Pakistani kids. There's so many different languages there that live all around that school. And look at this, public St. Hope. And an inner city school that is disgusting, in my opinion. But anyway, what we're finding out is hundreds of students leave every year at that school. They tell us, everyone's welcome, come to our school. You're not advertising for us, they tell the district. You're not supporting us. Well, they're an independent charter school. The AD money gets paid to them. It doesn't get paid to the district. Am I right? I'm not an expert, but from what I've learned. So why in the world would the district say, hey, yeah, go over there and take the money away from us? But that's what happens. Funds are diverted, and they go to this charter school that says, hey, we're going to really educate these low-income minority students. Well, what I learned is many leave, hundreds of them leave. And you guys were talking about your elementary schools. I'm sure you've received many transfers. Why did they leave?
Counseled out.
Yeah, and when we say counseling out, I want to give you a quote from the Oprah Winfrey Show from 2006 when Kevin was on that show. He said, if a parent doesn't want their son or daughter to go to college, and if they're not willing to do whatever it takes to help their son or daughter get there, this is not the school for you. This is not the choice you should make. How do you educate kids who don't have an advocate? What about them? whose parents don't bother to exercise their choice, or don't know how to choose, or can't communicate, speak with, they're intimidated to go in and do that. What happens to these kids? Where do they go? The whole thing with these schools is, as those tough populations decline, as they counsel them out, their test scores go up, and they say, look at how good we're doing. Our scores are through the roof. Compared to all these other schools, the ones that have to take cast-offs. You look at that and you say, gosh, on paper it looks super. Look at their scores. But just because children are low-income, minority, doesn't mean they're automatically going to fail. Those kids could have been doing well wherever they were in middle school. They're being funneled into this school. They're using their race and their socioeconomic status to say, look at us, we've got this low-income minority school doing great. But these are probably kids that were already doing great because they've got advocates there. You're going to college, we're going to get, that's huge. So my concern is this kind of smoke and mirrors that they put up, the illusion of success that they have. It doesn't really address the problems in our schools. It's kind of like a gated community. You get in your gate and stay there. You have your little group. But the problem is still out there. And you're not addressing it. You're hiding. You just look how safe our community is. Well, you've got your little bubble. But it's much bigger than that. So, I want parents to understand that there's more. As we were talking about earlier, it's like you go to the living room, it's a real beautiful living room. We just don't open those closets. I want people to start peeling the onion and learning why are these scores going up. What's really behind it? What's the illusion here? Because it's really not the promise that they make it out to be.
Thank you, Susie.